Welcome to Jurassic World.
Good morning, guests. Welcome to Jurassic World Minute, where we visit Jurassic World 1 minute at a time. Pig loose, pig loose. I'm Brad.
I'm Dave.
And on this episode, we're discussing the 24th minute of Jurassic World. Before we get to that, David, no Pedia entry for Leon the raptor handler, so we're heading over to IMDB to check out Colby Boothman, the actor who played the raptor handler. The Jurassic Cast podcast, we have played one of their interviews before with Richard Schiff when he was talking about the RV on the cliff and that sequence there. They also had an interview with Colby about his scenes in the film, so head over there for a bit of a backstory and a bit of a listen to his thoughts on the film and his part in it. But here, looking at Colby, again, not really an actor I knew coming into the film. He doesn't have a very big part in here. He seems to do a lot of stunt work as well, including some work on Mythbusters, which I was surprised to see.
Might have been did some wild stunt or something on Mythbusters. You know.
Well, it was some sword work by the looks of it, doing some sword.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Just...
Interesting here too, he's credited as Luke Skywalker in the 2015 Battlefront game. So... If you can tell anyone that you played Luke Skywalker, then you're going pretty well.
You know what he might have did is he might have done the motion capture work for the lightsaber fights. If he's familiar with swords.
Yep. Well, I'll go to stunts. Stunts Green Lantern. Well, yeah, he played him. Yeah, so it must have been stunt. Capture. Well, yeah, a lot of the stuff I'm seeing here on his IMDb is stuff I haven't seen him in, so I don't think there's no, he's had no films released in 2020. Only some TV work in 2019, so he's not a overly busy person, it looks like, which is a shame. But link to that in the show notes if you want to go and check out more of the raptor handler that we get in this minute.
Come on. We're the same. We're dogs of war. We know that the military needs to reduce casualties. Some people think that robots are the future. Look, nature gave us the most effective killing machines 75 million years ago. And now we know they can take orders.
David, ready to go into minute 24?
Sure.
As we're in minute 24 of Jurassic World, Owen locked himself inside the cage to try and get away from Hoskins, as he continued babbling on about how much these raptors should be set free. As we open on minute 24, Owen just stares down Hoskins and says, "Do you hear yourself when you talk?" Hoskins tells Owen, "This is going to happen, with or without you boys. Progress always wins." At the 19-second mark, we can hear a crash of a gate and someone yelling, "Pig loose! Pig loose!" Owen turns to see Leon, the new employee, running across the catwalks with a noose pole in his hand. He stops on the catwalk above the pig's path and swings the noose pole down and expertly snares the pig around the neck. Unfortunately, Echo has other plans and yanks him off the catwalk as it grabs the pig, and Leon lands with a thud on his back. Owen runs for the cage door, but hesitates, not quite sure of his next move. Inside the pen, the other raptors have heard the sounds and start approaching Leon, snarling. At the 38-second mark, Owen opens the interior gate and squats down as it opens up, contemplating his next move. As soon as the gate's open enough, he crawls under it and runs into the pen, yelling up at the armed men on the catwalks, No, hold your fire, do not fire. And he runs to position between the approaching raptors and Leon still sitting on the ground. And as the minute ends, Owen says, "You put 12 amps in these animals and they're never going to trust me again," as Barry pulls Leon through the half-open gate behind him. As we continue straight on into minute 24, we get the end of Hoskins' little pitch before after struggle breeds greatness. He continues, and without that, we end up in a place like this, charging $7 for a soda.
Yeah, he doesn't seem to mind that $7 soda. He certainly steals a couple sips from Lowry.
we do get that comeback. Yeah, and it's sort of it's not so much struggle breeding greatness, but just the whole theme park thing where you go to a theme park and you're paying double or 3 times the price for food and drink as you would outside.
Yeah, but I mean that comes with the territory. I remember when people first, when people first started going to Galaxy of Adventure. No, what was it called? The new Disney Star Wars theme park section.
Galaxy's Edge.
Galaxy's Edge. That's it. Galaxy of Adventure is their cartoon miniseries. Well, anyway, people first started going to Galaxy's Edge, and they're like, "It's all pay for play." I'm like, what did you think was going to happen? This is Disney we're talking about. Literally anything you do to have fun there is the mouse asking you how much money you got.
Well, that's it. They've built a life of, from what I've seen, there's a life-size Millennium Falcon there. Like that sort of stuff doesn't come easy or cheap.
No. And everybody's like, "Well, the drinks are so expensive." I'm like, they're $12 for a large soda. What did you expect? You go to any park that is like that, you know? I mean, that's part of the course.
Well, no, not just the theme parks over here. Anyway, movie theaters or even sporting events. You have a lot of people trying to sneak their own food and drink into these events. So
yeah, same here. You go to a game and a baseball game, and you're expecting to pay $7 for a hot dog and $12 for a beer.
Yep. But this is where we get Owen back over at the cage door, smiling at Hoskins. "Do you hear yourself when you talk?" which is true. He's been monologuing here for the last couple of minutes, going on and on about his evil plans. But Hoskins sort of takes a moment and says, "This is going to happen with or without you boys. Progress always wins, man." So we get the threat here from Hoskins that whether Owen wants to or not, which makes me wonder if Owen's working with these raptors, if someone else could come in and start clicking and talking to him, not being the alpha, whether they'd actually listen.
Probably not, but I think that was what the end game was expected to be. Was you could produce these animals that could follow any trainer's commands, when in reality they only follow his commands because he's formed a relationship with these animals. He's spent the time, put in the effort to form a relationship where they're familiar with him, what he does, who he is, what he smells like, what he looks like, and they know Owen. They probably don't know Hoskins. He's probably not there enough to really know who he is. They know Barry. They probably wouldn't listen to him, but they know who he is because they probably work with him on a daily basis, you know?
Well, and also we get 2 prime examples of that later in the film, where he tries to approach Blue when her head's in the cradle, and she reacts to him being there, and then of course at the end of the film with his demise, where he's there talking to her, trying to save his own life, and she has none of it. we also got some more of those pig noises in the background here too, as Owen replies, maybe progress should lose for once. Which, isn't that just saying you don't want to have a job anymore? Or...
It does I mean, when people say that this is progress, it reminds me of the line from the John Prine song Paradise, where the line goes, it's a folk song about how in Paradise, Kentucky, they brought in mountaintop removal equipment, and they basically they tore up the mountaintop, torched the timber, and one of the line is they wrote it all down to the progress of man. And it's just thinking that's how they excuse it. Oh, it's progress. Well, you just destroyed a mountain. How is that progress? Well, somebody's making money. Yeah, but it was a nice looking mountain too. You know?
Well, I could go back to the whole condor debate in Jurassic Park too. If we breed condors, you wouldn't have anything to see.
But John, this wasn't some species exterminated by the building of a dam. Dinosaurs had their shot, and nature selected them for extinction.
Exactly. And again, it's sort of it is overplayed a lot in film with movie plots of, well, we're doing this for progress, so we're in the right here, and a lot of the times, yes, you need to do some bad things to try and step forward, but
yeah, or like the quote goes, you need to crack eggs to make an omelet, but I'd rather it not be my egg that gets cracked by these raptors, you know.
Well, going off the novel, they've lost 80 pigs to get to this point of the raptors actually listening to Owen to stop and not go after him.
Mm-hmm.
As we learn in a minute, it's going to be 81 pigs. But after a moment of that line sinking in, we hear a crash of a gate and someone yelling, "Pig loose, pig loose." Owen turns to see someone running across the catwalks above the enclosure, and you can see one of the older onlookers in the middle of the catwalks here sort of waving him past as the boy's running, and we continue to hear that squealing pig, and cut to a section of catwalk high up looking down as Leon swings the noose pole over the hand railing and down to expertly snare this pig on his first attempt, which is probably why he was hired. He's quite a pig wrangler, but he split second after he's able to do this. Raptor or a blurred raptor
looks like
comes
Echo
in.
based on the colorations. I wouldn't be surprised if she planned this entire thing. You know, I mean, just going by the personality descriptions from the Lego site, that when that first came out, when Lego Jurassic World first came out, that she's kind of described as the most kind of basic of the well, not basic, but the most kind of feralized. She's the most like the raptors from the first movie, where she's kind of conniving and kind of backstabby. So, you know.
Well, yeah, it does raise a question about how planned this is with the raptors.
Because we're going to talk about this for this next minute and the next, or for this minute and the next, about how these raptors kind of react to this situation.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting because, and we learned this, I think, in either the next minute or the minute after that Leon, he's new. He's a new hire. So he's making a mistake here of trying to wrangle the pig, whereas those guys who were waving him down are probably trying to tell him, don't bother, we'll just get a new pig.
Well, that's exactly right. And he does seem to have kung fu grip here too, because as that lip goes around the pig's neck and the raptor comes in and picks the pig up, he's jolted pretty violently over the side of the hand railing, but he's only hanging onto the pole by one hand, so yeah, he's got kung fu grip to hang onto that pole enough to be pulled over.
I don't think he's like really hanging onto it so much as he's just when it tosses in his hands, he's gripping it so tight that it just the force of it inevitably pulls it with him. Or pulls him with it, you know?
Yeah. Well, you would be expecting to receive the weight of the pig, especially when it's running. You're going to get a jolt from it, so you would be prepared to hang on to it a bit harder.
Probably not the force of a 180-pound raptor, you know?
No. No. But then I wonder if sort of the raptor doesn't seem to notice what it's done when it picks this pig up and run. If it looked back as ran forward.
Yeah, this whole scene, Echo doesn't even play a part in it because she's off eating the pig while the rest of them try to push Owen towards the door.
Yeah. Well, we get a bit of a FUD here as he performs a perfect, I think they call it a pratfall, where you do the forward somersault into the bag, landing on the ground.
He didn't break his spine. I mean, that's a really hard fall from, what, 15, 20 feet?
He bounces. He bounces when he hits the ground. Yep. And we cut to the Raptors. I think it's Blue and Charlie here snap their heads around, obviously hearing him hit the ground. And I'm gonna just say someone pushes the Raptor call buttons on the keyboard. We're gonna get to this later in the film as well, where wherever we have the Raptors on scene or off screen, they the vocalizations and some of the noises they make aren't really what you'd expect for what the Raptors are actually doing. A lot of just those Raptor sound effects being played for the sake of it and not actually to help.
Yeah, and I do think it's kind of interesting where the arm positions are on these Raptors. In the first Jurassic Park movie, the Raptors' arms were always kind of straight ahead, kind of bunny-armed, and right straight ahead in front of the body. It was never kind of off to the side, kind of chicken winging it. And that's what they're doing here, is they're kind of chicken winging with their arms, which is kind of a callback to their bird-like nature.
But we get a cut to a very concerned-looking Owen as he runs forward towards the entry gate to the enclosure and then sort of stops short. You can see not really entirely sure on what his next move will be here as he assesses the situation, but inside the enclosure, Blue and the Raptors begin to fan out as they slowly walk towards the fallen Leon. Instinctively, he starts crawling backwards away from them. And as those Raptor computer keys are pushed again, Owen sort of runs to the gate controls and opens the entry gate to the enclosure. We get a bit of an alarm as he crouches down beside the opening gate, and you can see that look. He's scared shitless on his face of the thought of what he's about to do. I don't think he's been in close proximity to these animals since that 8 weeks, and he knows it. But it's sort of funny here too. We see here now the second controls Owen's pushed to open or close or lock a gate. If the Raptors were to find themselves in these sort of areas, in these caged areas, you'd think that they'd know how to push these buttons. It doesn't seem really safe to contain the Raptors just having a push button control panel to open or close the gates. But Barry runs up to the gate beside Hoskins and sort of yells, "Owen, no!" But Owen doesn't even wait for the gate to fully open. He gets down and army crawls under it as it's opening and runs out and puts himself in a position between the Raptors and Leon, calling up to the guards that have now appeared up top. Hold your fire.
Yeah, he says, don't put the 12 amps into these animals, I'll never trust them again. Which is interesting because it seems that he believes if a human were to attack these animals, that their trust in all humans would kind of disappear, kind of like a dog that's been whipped and beaten by a bad owner now would potentially fear all humans, you know?
Yeah, it'd be interesting too with the timing. If they immediately shot the Raptors before he was on the scene, whether they'll sort of after the fact hold him responsible as well.
That may have been another reason why he was so quick to get in there, you know?
Yeah. But he runs straight up and gets himself in between the Raptors and Leon, which is not somewhere I'd want to be.
No.
Back at the cage door, the exterior door opened by Barry, and he sort of runs up to the interior door and hits the gate controls to get it to stop raising halfway up. And we can again hear Owen in the background yelling to the guys up top, "Hold your fire, do not fire."
Yeah. And it's interesting, I mean, even to the point where, and we'll talk about this more when we get to it next minute, but even to the point where where Owen gets right between Leon and the raptors, you can see them start pushing Owen back. You can see they're formulating a way to get themselves through those gates too, you know?
Well, that's it. No one ever fully stops here. Like, even as he runs in and gets between them, Leon's still crawling backwards, and as he yells out to the guards about the 12 amps, you can see Leon's nearly back to the gate. And the minute actually ends with Barry helping him under the half-open gate, which is sort of... It's only been a few seconds, but the whole time here, Owen's been calling out to the guards up top not to fire and hasn't once addressed Blue. We get that pretty much the first second into the next minute, but he's sort of leaving talking to the Raptors to the last minute.
Mm-hmm. Well, it's at that point where it's just him and the Raptors, and I think he's, in a way, almost trying to turn it into a mock training exercise. Don't eat the pig. In this case, don't eat the alpha.
Well, also too, if Blue had planned this to escape, having Owen run in here where she had a perfectly victim on the ground in front of him may have startled and slowed her up a little bit too. But as you said, they're moving. They're slowly fanning out and working out what they're going to do to Owen before he has a chance to talk to him. Getting over to novel comparisons a little bit more here, it's actually Barry that laughs and asks Hoskins if he can hear himself when he talks, not Owen. Barry's still next to him here and hasn't left like he did in the film. The young handler goes to rescue the pig from the enclosure when it suddenly bolts from him, pulling him into the pen. So we don't actually get the pig loose situation in the novel. It's the handler's going to get that pig that was still sitting over against the enclosure wall. And we get Barry yelling, "Man down in the pen," which is something different to the pig loose.
Well, I think the pig loose also begs the question, how did the pig get loose? Because we know that it's kind of a trapdoor situation where the pig goes through the door and they immediately shut the door. But there's still those little air circles or air holes in the door. And if the raptor is smart enough, could probably potentially stick her claws